Good afternoon and welcome to Patriot Paths. My name is Lake Green and today we are looking at an awesome historical house right here in the beginning of Freehold Borough. A lot of traffic going on here on West Main Street here in Freehold, and today we're checking out the Covenhoven House. Built in 1752, and we will check out this splendid house in detail, so stay tuned. Alright, so this is the Covenhoven House of Freehold, New Jersey. We are currently in the backyard, or the backside of the home. We were in the front when we did the intro shot to the video. And this house was built in 1752. The same builder of the Old Tennent Church that we visited on Tennant Road, also in Freehold, the Freehold-Manalapan border, not far from here at all. The same builder built this house. His name was John Davies, carpenter. Master Carpenter of the town, a local man, and it was built for Mr. William Covenhoven and his wife Anne Van Cleef. Cleef was her maiden name, Van Cleef. Obviously, when she was married, she retained her husband's name of Covenhoven. So this house was built in the year 1752. If you might notice, it's the same color and clapboard design of the Tennent Church. The siding is very much the same, and the coloring is very much the same. Alright, so let's do a quick walk around of this building. As I said earlier, the siding is very much the same as that of the Old Tennent Church. The design, wood and clapboard shingles, and heavy bolted nails. These look like heavy nails, or maybe even carriage bolts, some sort of bolt that was cut, drilled into the wood by hand, of course. There was no power tools back then in 1752, and then bolted together by two nails, the four wooden shingles. As I say in almost every one of my videos, the stone here is native New Jersey field stone. This serves as the foundation, and these bricks, I'm not sure if they were original to the house. They do not appear to be original, because this house was of course restored maybe once or twice, I'm not sure, but definitely recently. And of course everything that was used in the construction of this house was native to the area. Everything, this is not like today's world where we're getting lumber supplies shipped in from overseas or out of state. What you built, you got from the land around you. So these are everything used to construct this house early on, for the most part, was of native freehold material: wood, stone, mortar, brick, whatever, clay. So looking at these massive windows, they're very typical of the 1700s. Back then we did not have AC, heating, or lighting. So in the wintertime, you needed light to get into your house, and any month to keep it, visible, lit. And also you needed big windows if you wanted to open up to keep the house airy. As you know, if you're going to have a fireplace going, it's going to get musty in there real quick. Looking around the side of the house, it appears that here there was a fireplace at one time. Might have been removed, and the chimneys, which you can barely see here, there's two fireplaces, which signifies wealth, but there might have been an original fireplace right here that was removed, and just the chimneys were kept and preserved in the early restoration of the house, the original restoration. So basically, this house is pretty large for the area of Freehold. Let's take a walk around the front. The Covenhoven family were very wealthy people. The architecture is very Scots-Irish in origin. There is not many features on this house that exemplify a Dutch style of architecture like we've seen in previous homes. But both were very wealthy, came from wealthy families, and they inherited their wealth. They inherited their wealth from their parents in the form of land. And if you had land, you always had power. They were free people, and they could the man could obviously vote, had some pull in the town, possibly in the clergy, at his church, at his parish. And what better way to show your wealth than to build a magnificent home to house you, your wife, and your family. Alright, so I realized my cameraman, when I was talking, did not do the best job of getting the full, capturing the full beauty of this home, so I figured I would take a quick shot here, show everybody the side left view from the front facing of the house, facing the street, West Main Street. going towards Freehold Borough, and this way is towards Freehold Township. Back then, of course, Freehold Township was Freehold was one body, but in the early 1900s or late 1800s, Freehold Borough broke away from the township because the people in the township feared or felt that the borough, which was very built up and urbanized and very a bustling town of center of industry and trade, was kind of different than what was largely agrarian farmland. So they wanted their own pole, and they separated in the early 1900s. But this house was, of course, then just part of Freehold, New Jersey, when it was built in 1752. And over here is definitely the kitchen. That is definitely where you'd be doing your cooking and baking. That looks like it could be a back room, possibly a food storage area to store food. There's your central. There's your big chimney to cook. And if you can't see, there are actually two chimneys, one on the other side of this roof, which really, the fact that there's 3 chimneys on this home shows your wealth, because you were taxed by the amount of chimneys that you had in your house back then. And 3 chimneys is a lot, especially for one family. They were very wealthy people. Numerous windows, very similar in design in a way with the later edition, or it's not a later edition, but just the side edition of made later on. Kind of reminds of the Craig house, the Craig farmhouse, but of course this was all done in 1752. There was no later edition cut out of the side of the home, but the Craig farmhouse certainly there was. So there's your kitchen, and there's your main home. Definitely probably had a parlor when you walk through that door, a sitting area, a greeting area, maybe a study of some sorts, and then of course bedrooms on the top. A very beautiful house. All right, so now as we stand once again at the rear of the Covenhoven house, we answer the question, why is this house significant? Why did we come here and visit this home today? Basically, besides its beauty, on June 26, 1778, as the armies of Great Britain and the United States marched through central New Jersey, George Washington, leading the American army, pursued General Henry Clinton's British army through New Jersey as they made their attempt to get back to their base in New York. Washington's army rested out of Valley Forge, and, well trained by General Baron von Steuben, was eager for a direct confrontation to prove their mettle to their British counterparts. And so basically on June 26th, after 2 weeks of hot marching in the scorching central Jersey sun, the soil's so sandy and loamy here it gets like an oven in the summer, no air conditioning. General Clinton decided, after 2 weeks of sleepless nights, harassed by the New Jersey militia, to make his camp here in Freehold Borough, which was then called Monmouth Courthouse. Many local farmers, because the area was such a heavily Patriot Territory, many local farmers, their homes were burned, their crops destroyed and taken, and their livestock confiscated. And Mrs. Covenhoven, along with her children at the time, her husband was away, I'm not sure if he was in the militia or not, that is unknown, prepared. She had all her valuables, which obviously today this is all a housing development, but was once then woods and farmland, as the land was all farmed by the family. All her valuables were buried and hidden in a wagon in the woods, and her silverware was thrown to the bottom of the family well, also on the property, now covered up. And when the English arrived in town, they saw this magnificent house that was the most beautiful house in the town by far, and General Clinton said, all right, let me make it my base on June 26th, 2 days before the Battle of Monmouth. And then when he arrived, he found that the house was basically empty of furnishing. And he said, he pretty much knew this woman was hiding her stuff, so there's no way it would be this barren if it was such a nice house. And he basically kind of tricked Miss Covenhoven into saying, okay, let me bring all your stuff back, they'll be protected by the British Army. And so basically they dragged her stuff out of the woods after she told them where it was, and by the next day all her stuff was confiscated. But this house served her home, and her husband's home served as the base for British General Sir Henry Clinton during the Battle of Monmouth. And on June 28th, the morning before the battle started, he left the home, never to return, as after the day's action, during the early morning hours, he made a hasty retreat